I'll get started. I'll bring the rest of our panelists up at least, and we can sort of get started maybe.
Hi, hello.
Hello. Laura, are you able to hear? All right, so I don't want to take us too far off schedule here. So maybe we'll just go ahead with the introductions, and then if Laura is able to come back, we'll bring her back to the stage. So,
Okay, working with you, Stephanie.
so let's just go ahead and go around and do some intros. So the only person who hasn't been on stage yet this morning is Gaia, so I'll start with you.
Awesome. Hey, my name is Gaia Giladi. I'm the co-founder and chief creative of Hilos, and we're an on-demand and circular footwear technology platform that blends 3D printing with hand craftsmanship to make really unique shoes that are super comfy. And we've heard that they are very cute and beautiful to wear. So
Wonderful. And Hedwig?
Yeah, I'm Hedwig Heinsman, co-founder of Actual. We are a platform for fully circular interior and architectural finishes made via large-scale 3D printing of recycled waste materials. Wow, that's a long sentence. I have a background in architecture, so but I'll more about it later probably.
All right, and Elena, you just came off stage, but welcome back.
Thanks. Yeah, for all those who did not listen or could not listen the talk of Laura and I, which was here before. Hey, I'm Elena. I'm the head of R&D here at Dimension. I'm a chemist by training, and I'm responsible for the process development of all our post-processing processes. So we at Dimension, we offer different post-processing of polymer parts, starting from depowdering, over smoothing to dyeing.
All right, and Laura's back. I hope she can hear us now. Can you?
Yes, indeed. Now finally things are working.
Do you want to give us just a real quick introduction?
Of course, yeah. Again, thank you one more time for having us here, and sorry for the troubles. Technology has never been my friend. My name is Laura Pereciba Gorostiza from Spain. I'm the product marketing manager for Powder Fusion in BSF for WordAM, and I'm basically responsible of core positioning, key messaging, go-to-market strategies. But basically what I like to do is spreading the word a bit on how amazing 3D printing is and our work with our partners, and yeah, a bit to tell a story to everyone.
Wonderful. So this group of women, you all have this experience of creating consumer-facing goods. So and doing and using 3D printing to do it. And so you need these things to be functional, but you also want them to be beautiful. So I thought we could just start off by talking about like what are the advantages and disadvantages of using 3D printing for consumer goods like this. Does anybody feel like starting?
I'll go for it. So first and foremost, I think the biggest advantage of using 3D printing is that it allows you to just think creatively. You can think about solving problems in a way that that can't be solved with traditional manufacturing. And I think that's really important when using 3D printing in your process, whether it's manufacturing or prototyping. If you're just replacing it with something that traditional manufacturing can do, I think, it's not necessarily the best use case for this technology. So one, it allows you to think creatively. It allows you to create really intricate details, not just beauty and aesthetically, but also functionally. and just create new methods of make with it. For me, I'm a designer, so the biggest disadvantage is the limitation in material and post-processing. It's still all in development, and I'm really excited for the future of it, and I know it's all gonna come together really nicely, but in the now, it is quite limited if you compare it to, traditional methods that are out there.
Hedwig, do you want to add on to that?
I can totally relate. I think why designers and also the end users, the clients, like what we do is because I think it's really a modern craft. So, 100 years ago, craftsmanship in architecture and interior design sort of ended, and there was mass production, and you really can see now that people love it, that they can really personalize design again. So I think that that's really an added quality, next to, of course, all the great things like no waste, in that it's very easy to use, circular, but I think we'll get into that later.
Elena, I think you had an example as well.
Yeah, so especially what Hedwig now said, the personalized thing is, I think, a big issue and a big benefit of 3D printing. And another example here is 3D printed glasses, for example, from a company of Germany, Umabo. They offer customized glasses which really fit your face. I think everyone who ever was searching for a nice glass frame had a lot of issues. Sometimes it's too big, it's too small, then the frame is too long or whatever. So here we can benefit a lot. And then in addition, for glasses, producing locally and to avoid like long supply chains is for sure also a big benefit. And I think, for example, for something like the glasses industry, the biggest challenge might be that conventional manufacturing is so well known here, and thousands of glasses are produced in Asia or wherever. So taking the step, doing something new is always kind of risky. And so this might be the biggest disadvantage right now, that it's not as implemented in the industrial production as it could be.
If I can add 2 more words, I think summing up everything that you have said, I think for me the advantages is for sure the reduction in carbon footprint, and again, as Hedwig said, we will touch it later. The agility of the technology, and I'm not talking just on the agility on design, as Gaia was mentioning, right? I'm talking about the agility on production. So right now we have many issues in the world, and supply maybe is short, and 3D printing allows you to reach to those places where with traditional manufacturing you will not be able to reach. And finally, of course, the performance, comfort, customization level, you cannot do it with traditional manufacturing. And as a disadvantage, unfortunately, we are not there yet to achieve that industrialization level that we want, but I think the whole industry is working so hardly on it that we will soon be in the point that we want to be.
Great. So I just want to spend a few minutes kind of talking about the post-processing and like the finishing process for the materials that you're using and the products that you're making. What are some of the post-processing options that are available for polymer parts, and what do you each use?
I can start if you want.
Sure.
We personally in BSF, we focus mainly on the material, but we are also offering coatings. We work with Dimension and other post-processing companies for smoothing, dyeing. But we have Sculpteo, which is a service bureau in France, which is a brand of BSF as well. And they use crazy things. They have like plating, like this shiny finishing for the fashion industry that they love, or polishing, different kind of polishing. So there are many ways of making our parts beautiful, and I think these ones, at least from what I hear from Sculpteo, are the ones that they use more. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, we use very similar post-processing. So if anybody was here from the last talk, we use a process called vapor smoothing by AMT. So it's kind of a similar process from my understanding. You could prove me wrong. I have a sample here to show. I hope you can see okay. It's still dark out here, so the lighting might be off. But this entire bottom piece of the shoe is vapor smoothed. And I'll show the bottom, but it's a little dirty. These are my shoes that I've worn. So it essentially takes what is a gray powder bed 3D printed part and smooths. We dye it first, so we dye it black, and then we smooth it over with vapor smoothing. And then another process that we use is called hydro dipping, which is essentially like a water dip. You have a film, a printed film on top of a bed of water that you then use a solvent to kind of eliminate the film and just leave the print on the water. And we use it to kind of make our shoes look a little bit more like a traditional shoe so that we can kind of meet the customer where they're at and give them something familiar. I really love this process. It really tricks the eye, and it makes it really unobvious that it's 3D printed, which is, I think, a little bit heartbreaking, but at the same time, makes it something that's a little bit more commercial and easier for most customers to digest.
Yeah, we actually try to stay away from post-processing. We have only one technology, it's FDM, and the best is when it's not needed and it can directly just, be transported. So it's not always possible, but and when we do this, it's because then it's man labor. So fortunately, we're getting better and better at it. So.
Yeah, I think man labor is a big issue if you talk about post-processing, because in the beginning, no one thought about post-processing, and then there was the print, which was also kind of automatized. But then it comes to post-processing, it was always manual hand work. And this is where we started to work, because we realized that we need some reproducible, reliable post-processing processes to really get the parts which we want, because no one wants one time a glass which is red, and next time it's maybe more bluish red, and then next time it's, I don't know, more pinkish or orange. And so this is why we started to work with post-processing, and now we are offering the whole bunch of post-processing technologies, starting from cleaning, which is only important for powder bed materials, but still it's the biggest portion of industrialized 3D printing so far, I guess. So it's a very important area. And then for sure surfacing, as Gaia showed us, the shoes look amazing if you have them smoothed, for example. And then in addition, we also offer dyeing. And I would say all the other post-processing technologies, which, for example, Laura and Gaia also mentioned, they could benefit a lot if you first smooth the parts, because then you have a way better surface quality to do coating or this water. How did you call it, Gaia? The water
Hydro dipping.
The hydro dipping. Yeah, this would benefit a lot, for example, from smoothing. So yeah, there are many post-processing technologies now out there, and we always try to get them on an industrialized stage, so you can really start customized mass production.
So let's talk a little bit just about post-processing challenge with flexible materials. So we just heard from Laura and Elena about some of the difficulties with depowdering, like TPUs. And I wonder, like Gaia, if you encounter any sort of difficulty in, or what are the particular challenges of post-processing with your shoe soles?
Well, I think Alina and Hedwig just hit the nail on the head there. Scalability is a big one for us. I think, the two post-processing methods that we use, other than depowdering, are hydro dipping and vapor smoothing, and they each have separate challenges. Hydro dipping, there's ways to jig it so that you're doing multiples at a time, but there's high error rate. With vapor smoothing, you have to really tweak the recipe to get it right, and then you have to have a certain amount of shoes or parts in the machine in order to make it work. And we do an on-demand system. And so, you have to tweak your system in order to make that work. And if you're going to put in a different shaped part, you have to tweak the recipe, you know what I mean? And so you have to really have a dedicated machine for each part to really make it work. You have to have a technician that can come and solve problems with the machines at all times, because everything is so new that you really need a specialized person to deal with those technical issues. And then just a couple things that came up kind of on the more, detailed technical side is we use powder bed printing, we use TPUs. So we have a lot of issues with absorption. The TPU is really porous. And so, when spray painting it, for example, or coating it, before hydro dipping, it really does absorb the spray quite a bit. And so you have to do a lot of layers in order to really get that on there. Same with dyeing, we've noticed. We've trialed doing straight up dyed parts, no post-processing after that, just dipping it in a dye bath. And it really does absorb it. So the color eventually fades quite a bit. So that's that one. And also adhesion has been hard because the material just absorbs the, whatever you're using to as an adhesive.
Thank you, Gaia. I think, we know each other for a long time now, and I am very happy with the project with Hylos that we have. Every time I see your shoes and I wear them, it's a dream. I think, of course, again, we are talking about the intrinsic characteristic of the material, and we cannot expect the TPU to behave, being a flexible material, to behave like a polyamide, because it is impossible. And obviously, the properties that the TPU are going to give us are going to be totally different than what polyamides are going to give us. So the way we treat them must be different. Does that mean more difficult? I think, I don't know which technology you're using when you said AMT, but again, with partners like, with machines like the ones that we try from Dimension, and obviously some of the AMT ones that we have tested, we have found that the right settings to be able to industrialize your production. So maybe we need to be more in contact for this aspect. And regarding the addition, sorry?
I said, let's do it. Let's problem solve it.
And regarding the adhesion, it reminded me of our coatings, right? So you would think that the adhesion of the TPU may be an issue, but I also have some cool parts, some cool colors here. You can see that you just need to have the right recipe for the adhesion, and then you can have very nice flexible materials where adhesion is not an issue, and you don't need to do 20 layers. It's 2 layers of coating, right? So again, it's about finding the right ingredients for making the recipe for the shoe right, I think.
I love it. Let's connect. We need your help.
This is great. Great cross communication now. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about sustainability and sort of the circular economy. Hedwig and Gaia, you have both developed products, really product lines that are designed to be reused at the end of their life cycle. So I wonder if you can just talk a little bit about how you approach that and how you think about that.
Yeah, maybe I can start. I think as an architect, I think, well, some 15 years ago, we were already very fascinated with this idea that you start with waste material and then you can print it and then you can reuse it again. And I'm very excited that now this is really becoming a reality. And we noticed that obviously in our industry, the building sector, this is super relevant. Some 40% of all global CO2 emissions are caused by the building industry and like a third of the world's waste. So it's really important that we use materials in a regenerative way or that we keep recycling it. And 3D printing is really the solution there. Because you don't just upcycle something a little or you reupholster something, but you can really create new items and you can still have design. You can still be creative while creating new products and solutions. So yeah, in that sense, it's really a perfect fit.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a little glitch there. Yeah, I mean, I think to Hedwig's point, it's important to kind of know why to even recycle in the first place, right? What's the problem here? Why are we building these solutions? Because this is pretty new, I think, to be talked about on such a global level. I think, you know, the conferences that I've been going to over the last 2 years, even just 1 year, you see everybody talking about this, right? And before that, that just wasn't happening. It was like maybe 15% of the conversation. So in our industry, 24 billion shoes are made every year, and 1 out of 5 of those go straight to the landfill. So you have about 20% shoes that are being made just to be wasted. And this happens in the interior design industry all the time too, and in many other industries that people just overproduce in order to adhere to the factory needs, right? In order to make product as cheap as possible. And so I think 3D printing can solve those issues with both on-demand manufacturing and recycling. And that's how we've tackled it anyways. And I think it's especially uniquely suited for the footwear industry, in my opinion. But yeah, I think the approach that I take to it is to always have a pathway forward for recycling. And for me, that usually means being able to disassemble the different materials that you're using. So for footwear, you can make a full shoe with just one part, one material, right? But you can't make all shoes like that. I think that you're gonna hit a wall there. You're gonna corner yourself into a certain style and a certain kind of performance and comfort kind of category. And we're trying to broaden our categories and make 3D printing really available for all footwear. And so we're using other materials other than 3D printed parts that you need to be able to disassemble it from each component to be able to actually recycle those pieces in a responsible way. So that's kind of the top of mind design element that I think of. And you really have to do that from the very beginning. But then the other thing I'll say about that, and I think that kind of thought process can be very intimidating to somebody who's not used to thinking like that, is good is the enemy of perfect, or whatever that phrase is. You know, we try to hit about 85 to 90% recyclability. There's always going to be some components within our product, or at least for now, that is not going to be efficient for us to be able to recycle. It's actually going to be probably less sustainable for us to find a reverse supply chain for those products. And so I think it's important to think about it from a holistic standpoint, and to just do the best that you can, but you know, don't kill yourself trying to make it 100% perfect, because you're never going to get to that product.
So Elena, I wonder, how do you think about sustainability and circularity on the post-processing side?
I love this question, and I also tried to put my point here during the presentation I had with Laura, because for me it's so important that whatever we develop here for the post-processing, we always have the sustainability in mind. So maybe one example here are our smoothing solutions. Because here from the beginning, we decided to exclude any harmful and non-environmental friendly chemicals, which kind of made it a challenge for us on the R&D side, because every chemist knows if you go for a harsh chemical, which might be halogenated or something, then it's kind of easy to dissolve a plastic part. But if you exclude all of them, then it's getting really challenging to find something which fits your needs. And I was really happy that I think more than 3 years ago, we managed to find something for the nylons and the TPUs and so on. But then we had the next challenge, because now a new material is popping up quite a lot, which is polypropylene. And if you ever work with polypropylene, you might know that it's a very chemical resistant material. And again, we saw the need for a smoothing solution, but for sure we had our own statutes, let's say, where we want to exclude all harmful and non-environmental friendly chemicals. And then it was like, oh, how should we manage to get a smoothing solution without any harsh chemicals? And now I'm super happy that some months ago we could finally present our PowerFuse SPP, which has a green solvent. So it's really a bio-based solvent, which is not harmful at all. And yeah, these are the successes which always drive me forward to continue on developing new processes which really rely on sustainable solutions.
Laura, do you have any comment from the material side? How do you think about sustainability?
I mean, of course, I think the material aspect of any printing, it's always going to be a big contributor to the emissions, right? And I think in BSF, we are aiming for sustainability. We've always been. This will mean having more sustainable materials, which you can consider, okay, having recyclable materials, first of all, which we have. As I mean, Gaia is saying that she's recycling 85% of her shoes, and they are made with our ultra-thin TPO1. But also about searching and researching biodegradable materials or recycled materials, increasing our reusability rate of powders. So right now, for example, we just launched a material with 100% reusability rate, which is something pretty unique in the market. So we are moving forward and investing our time and money in finding more sustainable solutions. And we do have actions farther than that, right? So we understand that maybe we don't have the right results yet, and that is okay, because we cannot be perfect, of course. But we are working on reducing our carbon emissions. We are working on showing very transparently to our customers what our emissions are. So doing life cycle assessments of all our materials. We started with the PP line in December, and we'll continue with the TPU soon. Offering take-back programs throughout the year, material and powder take-back programs. And obviously, finally, whenever nothing else can be done, we are also offering carbon compensation for our materials. So we're trying to go to each part, right, of the issues and trying to tackle them. If anyone has further ideas, please let me know. But I think that's how, from the material side, we are aiming for sustainability.
Wonderful, thank you. So let's talk a little bit more about 3D printing specifically. We talk about it as being this disruptive technology, but that means different things in different contexts. So for each of you, how is 3D printing disrupting your particular industry, your particular sector? Hedwig, do you want to start?
Sorry, wrong button. Yeah, no, in that sense, for us, it's really a no-brainer. It really has the potential to be a disruptor. We were anticipating this, I think, already and why I see that this is now really happening is because I noticed that the last 2 years, for instance, in Europe, the amount of large-scale 3D print companies has really grown tremendously. And that's something that's really exciting. So I think it's really coming out of a sort of really early stage into a much more mature phase. And that a lot of things that we also already briefly talked about, like local production, that you're not dependent anymore on very long transport lines. Things like those are really welcome in our sector. And also the fact that tailor-made, like if you look at buildings in general, they're always tailor-made. Every building, again, is something unique. So you always have normally workers doing woodwork, making everything fit, and all these things can really be done with printing. So we really see a tremendous amount of opportunity there, and it's also shown by our how do you say it, by our numbers. I mean, there's just more and more demand, really. Yeah.
I'll add to that. So, of course, I said I'll add to that, and then I totally forgot what I was gonna. Let's see. Oh, okay. So the point that I think is kind of very specific to footwear is that so one, I think like the first thing that is kind of easy and right in your face to see is the design. I don't know if anybody here follows fashion, but there's quite a few pretty big name designers who are coming out with their own 3D printed shoes, and they're working with new 3D printed footwear companies like Zellerfeld, like Hilos, and even HP. Dior just came out with a shoe that was in collaboration with HP. So designers are really interested, I think, in the kind of design possibilities that comes with it. But from the conversations that I've had with designers and with brands is that it de-risks a lot of the kind of unique designs that they want to come out with, but they don't want to invest in the molds that they would have to create in order to make those shoes, to put those shoes in market. In footwear, you have to make a mold, and not only one. You have to make at least 5 or 6 for a size run, typically. So it's really costly to open up a new mold, and so this really opens up design possibilities and de-risks kind of putting more unique products out there for designers.
So maybe kind of a related question for Elena and Laura, like you see a broad range of different customers of different use cases. Where do you think 3D printing is being particularly disruptive?
Well, I think so far most obvious it's in the consumer goods. So I think because it's also visible for everyone, and also here the cycles are way shorter to get something on the market. So for the consumer goods, we see a lot of applications now popping up. There are shoes, there are glasses, there are jewelries like my earrings. So here the disruption, I would say, already started, while in other industries which are kind of more conservative and take more time to adapt technologies, it's not as obvious, but for sure also the automotive industry now started to adapt and so on. But I think here it will take maybe 1, 2, 3 more years until everyone really sees it in real life. While for the consumer goods, it's already there, I would say. And we see so many people out there who are getting crazy about all these 3D printed shoes and want to get 3D printed gadgets. So yeah, as usual, it starts with the consumer goods and then all the others will follow soon, I guess.
Yes, I mean, I agree with Alina. What everyone can see are the consumer goods ones, and those are the cool ones, like I was saying, like Dior, or like those are the ones that seem more appealing, right? But if we talk about disruption, I think I love the automotive industry, because who would imagine, who will tell you in automotive industry that they don't have to wait 8 weeks or 2 months or 4 months to develop a new part of the car? They can do it in 3 weeks and they can save so much money. And I think the disruption, it's also happening in hidden places, and unfortunately we cannot talk so much about it, right? So it's about production of cars, but it's also about jigs and fixtures in facilities. It's about many bridge production cases, more than I can tell. So I think that's where the disruption is happening, and unfortunately it's a disruption that we cannot talk about.
For the group, we're almost at the end of our time. What excites you about 3D printing, or why do you see this as a secret weapon for the work that you do? I will just call on somebody. Gaia, do you want to start?
Had my finger on the mic button, so yes, I would love to. So I think for me, 3D printing, it opens up the possibility of making shoes in a new way so that we can make them better. I came from the apparel industry before starting High Lows, and as a designer, I've seen the terrible things that happen in the fashion industry to overmake, to treat workers poorly, just to make the cost of clothing cheaper. I don't think we can afford that anymore. And 3D printing really allows the fashion industry, the one that I'm passionate about, and many other industries to take their production and make it more sustainable, while equaling the performance of comparable products. So that's what's most exciting to me about 3D printing. I think, to answer your other question, my secret weapon in using 3D printing is that I think it's really important to use it as an additive tool rather than a replacement. And I think that it's always really important for it to be solving a problem. I'm sure everybody in this room, this virtual room, has kind of seen 3D printing just replace something because we're excited about it. And that's great that there's excitement about it. But it's really important that it's solving real world problems for more mass adoption.
I agree with everything Gaia just said. I would just add that, especially to the last point, right? I think it's not just a new technology, a cool, cute technology where you see a Dior shoe, right? Okay, that's a big part of it, for sure. But it goes beyond that. I think 3D printing makes sense for many things and many applications, for the sustainability aspect, for the design, for the comfort, for the customization, for so many things. And I think that's what drives me to stay in this industry day after day. We are able to offer lattices to replace phones and to do this like cool reaction, right? For example, which is something that I could have never imagined when I was studying engineering, that something like that was possible. So I think my secret weapon for this industry, and as I said 1,000 times today, is the full solutions, is the partners, is the constant collaboration, and also because it makes it fun, which is part of everything that I do. So the full collaboration with all the benefits of 3D printing is the reason why I am in this industry.
I love it that you say fun, because architecture can be super slow. Sometimes people are really working on a design for 10 years before it's there. And we sometimes create something and the next day we have a one-to-one prototype. And the excitement that you get out of that is just, yeah, that's just really amazing. So I really also agree with what everyone said. For me, it's really circularity, mass customization, on demand, one-offs, and creativity and fun.
Now you said so many things. I don't know what to add actually, but maybe one more thing which I really like about 3D printing is that, especially if you think about consumer goods, as soon as you have something which might be even customized, the people start to move away from this throwing away mentality. I mean, it's similar to what Gaia said in the beginning of this question, that cheaper was like for a long time very important, but now the people really they see these customized parts as their parts, and then they feel kind of more responsible and not throw away everything so easily, which makes me personally super happy, because I think this is the way to go. And yeah, so yeah, the secret weapon, I would say, is what Laura said, that the industry itself, it's kind of the secret weapon, because it's so open, warm, welcoming industry, and you can really talk with everyone and collaborate in an easy way. And this opens up so many opportunities that it's never getting boring or something. So yeah, I think the industry itself and the people are the secret weapon here.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.